Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Glue Glue podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today is Hanif from Mumsy Talks. He's a Chelsea supporter, actually, but he loves to talk football, and his family all support Manchester United. So, welcome to the show, Hanif.
Yeah, big up. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem at all. So we're just recording about half an hour after the game between United and Southampton, which turned out to be yet another one each draw for United, where they've taken the lead. They've not managed to get the second goal, and they've conceded then in the second half. And perhaps fortunate on this occasion to come away with the draw, given Southampton finished the game pretty strongly. I know United had chances as well. From a neutral point of view, it was really entertaining game. End to end stuff, lots of chances at both ends. Somehow there was only 2 goals in the game, but frustrating from a United point of view again, because we needed 3 points today to stay in contention for the top four, and it's yet another draw. So, how did you see it then?
I think Manchester United are dropping points and they're not finishing games off when they should be. I think first half, I would say United edged it, but decision making has cost Manchester United today. I think Marcus Rashford, I know he got an assist, but if he didn't get that assist, I think a lot of Manchester United fans would be frustrated with Marcus Rashford because the goals and assists that he would normally get or he's normally got in previous seasons are just not there. I thought he was so. I'm not blaming him for today, but I think him coming back into the team rather than Elanga starting, I think they should have kept that. McTominay in the middle. Pogba was fantastic. Let's go with the positives. Pogba was fantastic, and he controlled that midfield, especially in the first half, playing some beautiful passes. And he might be playing he might be playing well because obviously he's only got a few months to go. Sancho with the goal, but Sancho in the second half, I thought needed to come off. I thought it was very quiet. Bruno had bright moments, and then Manchester United defensively couldn't cope with Southampton's press. Everybody knows how Southampton play. Even they might not have the players for it, but they force you on the back foot when they can. And I believe Southampton were the fitter team. That's why they finished stronger. In the second half, I thought there was only one team that was going to win it, and that was Southampton, purely because of the way they were attacking Manchester United's goals. It's just that obviously they don't have the personnel to execute shooting or making that final pass. Manchester United need to make a decision on Harry Maguire. You dropped Rashford, you have to drop Harry Maguire. He's going to eventually cost you, and his performances, overall this season, I think they've been worse. You have to ask yourself, is he going to get better? He's 29 years old. He's cost you 80 million. Does he look like an 80 million pound defender? I think Manchester United also need to look for, obviously, you need a central midfielder. You're heavily linked with Tielemans, and then you need a forward as well. The balance with Ronaldo seems off. I'm not saying Ronaldo is not a good player. It's just that he needs a good team around him, and I don't think United are at that stage where he should be at United. I think that was a very bad move on Manchester United's part. I think they should have got somebody else up front. Overall, I think United will be disappointed. I think you had the better chances overall, but it's just execution at the end of the day. And I think Ralph is getting it right slowly, but you need the points. And now Arsenal fans will be full of confidence after seeing that result, and so will the other teams that are aiming for top four. From a neutral point of view, good game. I thought it was extremely entertaining. But I think Manchester United fans will be extremely upset with that second half. And this team, after half time, they switch off. Those 3 minutes, you've just come back from a break. You should be switched on. And it just shows to me there's not enough characters there. There's not enough leaders in that team. And something has to give eventually. I think there has to be a clear out in the summertime. And that's just where I stand with Manchester United. I don't know whether you're going to make top four or not. You're making it very difficult for yourself.
Well, firstly, Harry Maguire just gets done far too easily. The amount of times that he gets skinned and he doesn't have the pace to get back. Arguably, he could have given a penalty away at the end when he accidentally stood on the Southampton striker. Ironically, it was him who had the best of United's chances from set pieces in the second half, and unlike for England, he doesn't put any of them away. He just seems to score every time he plays for England, but he can't seem to score for United for some reason. But yeah, he is just not the future for Manchester United. He's not a captain. He's not a leader. He's not a good enough centre back for the club that Manchester United are and the ambitions that they have. He's a mid-table centre back at best for me. And it's really, I think, from an attacking point of view, we're playing some good stuff at the moment, particularly in the first half of games with Pogba, Sancho, and today Rashford and Fernandes as well. Sancho is definitely coming into his own at Old Trafford. He's starting to look like a United player. So that's one positive. And Pogba, like you say, he's probably playing for a contract at Real Madrid or PSG. So that's why we're seeing the best of him at the moment. And Ronaldo, I'm sorry to say, from just looking at today's game in isolation, he's starting to look like a player who's not up to the pace of the Premier League. He's starting to show signs of someone who's starting to decline physically. I know he's 37 and he's probably the fittest 37-year-old there's ever been in football, but he just looks a wee bit short. He looks a wee bit off the pace. We see with Rashford and Sancho on the counter attacks, they're lightning quick, they're electric. Whereas Ronaldo's kind of struggling to keep up. And even that time where he took around the keeper, it was played at a fast pace that move, but he took around the keeper and then he scuffed his effort and gave the Southampton defender an opportunity to block it before it reached the line. Ronaldo of old would have buried that chance. So yeah, I'm reluctant to criticize Ronaldo too much because he's a habit of proving people wrong, but he is really showing signs now of physical decline.
Yeah, I think Kyle, I think you have to ask yourself, like, you've got two guys that have a combined age of 75 or something like that, and you have to address that area. I think Harry Kane would be a very good addition for Manchester United, well, for any team. But United should be going all out for what's his name, Haaland. They should, that should be one of their priorities. Props, but their number one priority needs to be a midfielder. I know Tielemans is heavily linked, and that would be a sensational signing for Manchester United. I think you need two midfielders. I think if Paul Pogba goes, you need. I don't think McTominay is a starter. I think for games like Southampton, yeah, he plays, but he doesn't have that class. And the Manchester, you look at the Manchester United of old, and you compare some of these players now to then, and you just think it's just gone so backwards. They've spent $1 billion, and this is what I mean. This is why you need one man. You need a director of football, and you need a manager, and you need to give them time. You can't just chop and change willingly. I know that United are looking at other managers for the summer job. So, and you have to ask yourself, okay, so how many of these players are they going to keep? Are they going to keep them all? And one of my mates was saying, he said, you know what? They're going to probably keep most of these players because it's a Pochettino team. Pochettino will probably not make that many changes. He'll probably keep most of them, and he'll probably get one or two win, and that's it. Man United will probably do big business, but United need to do what Arsenal did last season. Or this season in the summer, and spend big in terms of the amount of players they bring in. I think United need 5 or 6 players, because I think you've got some very good youngsters coming through, which is fine. But you have to ask yourself the question, are some of these players, like the likes of McTominay, Maguire, Luke Shaw, are they really up to that level? Are they really up to the Manchester United level? And, it's 10 years next season, I think, since you've not won the league. I didn't think United would go 10 years without a trophy. And if you're not careful, you're going to be the next AC Milan. It's going that bad because you've spent so much money. And I think you'll always be there. But someone was telling me the other day, Man United could be the next Liverpool, 30 years without a trophy if things are not, sorted backstage. and that's where United need to United owners need to look at it. They need to take a hard look and think, you know what's going on? Why is Man City trying to surpass us? And if Pep gets an extension on his deal, I think you guys are. I think you're in big trouble. I really, really do, because it's a big job, and um, you need a clear out, and you need to go again. But you need to make sure that you get someone in who's gonna do a good job. And I don't think that guy is Pochettino. I really don't. I just don't think he's world class. And I think Manchester United should be going for a world class manager. I think this guy that you've got now, I think if he'd had a pre-season, it would have been interesting. But there's some players at Manchester United, and there were stories leaked this week that they're not happy with training. You shouldn't be allowed to say stuff like that. I'm sorry, but why aren't you happy with the training? Because it's too difficult for them. There's a level of IQ, and some of these players don't have that IQ of football. It's all right running aimlessly, but I think when Ralph looks at it and just thinks possibly a third of that team is not good enough to play the system he wants to play. That's why he's gone back to 4-2-3-1. He's realized that these guys need a preseason. We need to clear out, and it'll be very interesting to see what he says to the Manchester United board if he does go upstairs and saying, "Look, these players are not good enough for Man United. They need to be sold." But I think at Manchester United, I think it comes down to PR and shirt sales. And when you look at some of these players, and this is the one thing I hate about today's generation of footballers, why are you like on social media so much? Why are you taking photographs and smiling for after a game? Is that what the Manchester United players of old used to do? Roy Keane, Wayne Rooney, and these men used to do stuff like that when they used to lose. I'm telling you right now, there is a culture within Manchester United where these top four positions are being rewarded, and I don't know if you got the opportunity to watch Anthony Martial yesterday for Sevilla. You might want to go watch that game because he absolutely smashed it. He had a fantastic game, and I'm not saying it's all Man United's fault that Martial hasn't worked, but technically that guy is a baller, and they've not got the best out of him. And I think they should have kept him. I think I don't think United have got a very good bench. I know a lot is being said about this kid Hannibal, but he's not playing. Yeah, and I don't know, and I don't think Ralph has a plan B. I think he got it wrong second half, going to 4-4-2. It didn't work. He should have kept with 4-3-3, but unfortunately, United are in a row. I think that's 3 draws in a row. They should have won at least 2 of those games. Should have possibly won today. And when you're playing like that in front of your own fans, Manchester United fans are not going to be happy, and they're making the top 4 very difficult for themselves. And if they don't get their act together, they might be knocked out of the Champions League if they're not careful. And it'll be interesting to see what happens at Manchester United. What stories are going to be leaked this week, because across the board, it's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it's absolutely rotten to the core. Remember all the leaks about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming out and about him and his coaches. Now the same thing's happening again with Ralph Rangnick. Even comparing Chris Armas, the American coach at United, he's been compared to like a Netflix character, Ted Lasso or something, by some of the players apparently. I mean, it just shows you how arrogant these players are. Like they constantly looking for someone else to blame for their own shite performances. So they tend to pin it on all the coaches. That's assuming that the information that the journalists have got is, it is coming straight from the players, and it's not, something that's being invented by the media. Some fans are very divided on it. Some fans are willing to believe it, and some fans are not willing to believe a word of it. I would say there's no smoke without fire. Those leaks coming out are coming from someone within that dressing room, I think. So it's very worrying. And every time we go through a bad patch, the players are leaking information that they're not happy with the coaches. It just shows you the serious problems that United have inside that dressing room. And yeah, with regards to Maguire, Shaw, and McTominay, I don't think any of them are the level required. Like you say, they all need replaced. On top of the players that are going to be leaving in the summer on a Bosnan, and that'll be Pogba, Lingard, Mata, and Cavani will all be going as well. United, like you say, need to sign 5 or 6 players, but they never do that. It's always 3 in, 3 out, and obviously it's going to be more than 3 out this summer. United, I just don't see them signing any more than 3 or 4 players. What they'll probably do is promote just a few of the youngsters like Hannibal, and Alonga's already in the team. You might see Jimmy Garner come back from Nottingham Forest. United are not going to sign 5 or 6 players because they're always charged hefty fees by other clubs. Now that I've always been a fan of Declan Rice and I've been talking about him all season and wanted him to come in, but United, I have to say it's unlikely they're going to spend 100 million of their budget on just one player, considering they need to sign players in so many positions. I would be glad to have Yuri Tielemans in for 40 million or whatever it is, but that's not going to solve the defensive midfield position. Tielemans is not a defensive midfielder, as everyone knows. So I don't know what they're going to do this summer. If they spend the 100 million on Rice, that leaves them with not much else. What are they going to have left to spend on the other positions? About 50 or 60 million. I can't see United spending 250 million this summer. It's been a long time since they did that. Even last summer, I mean, Ronaldo was a very small transfer fee. Varane was a small transfer fee because of he had 1 year left on his contract. Sancho obviously was 73 million or so. So United don't tend to spend 250 million in windows anymore. So it's hard to see what they're going to do. Are they going to try and sign cheaper options, or will they go for the 100 million player in Declan Rice? I'm just not sure what road they're going to go down. It doesn't seem like Ralph is going to get the job permanently. I suppose, like you say, it's not really his fault because he inherited this mess. But unfortunately, in football, you become guilty by association. And because he hasn't managed to turn it around quickly, then the board will not see him as a long-term solution. But it looks like he's going to move upstairs if they continue with that agreement. The worrying thing is that there's another division within the boardroom where Ralph is recommending Eric Ten Hag, and the board seem insistent on bringing in Pochettino. I mean, for me, that ship is sealed.
It's because I think is it because he's going to be free? Could money have something to do with it?
I think he still has at least a year left on his PSG contract, but United.
No, PSG have come out. They've come out and said we're letting him go in the summer. They've released a statement. They said we're letting him go because I think Zidane might be coming into PSG. So PSG they've made themselves very clear. They've already. I think PSG fans might even be happy about that, letting him go, because he can't get the best out of that team.
Yeah, I know they've decided that they're going to let him go, but they might have to pay him off, because I don't think his contract is up. Because when he came in, and it was about January 2021 or whatever it was, I think, was he not given 3 years?
He was, but I think they will pay him off. I just don't think they see a future with him, and I think this team is a Poch team. I think he'll do something with it. Now, usually, you'd think a manager that's won a competitive league, if you can call it that, will come into Manchester United, but we'll have to wait and see. But I think United do need to make that signing and get it over the line, and let the fans know. So coming next season, the fans have something to look forward to, and the manager can get his plans underway, because at this moment in time, there are too many unknowns at Manchester United, and it's a big job. And if you fail to qualify for the Champions League, what impact does that have on Manchester United? Because whenever that happens, I think the Glazers do tend to spend money to get back into the Champions League. They do, from what I've seen in recent years. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens to this team. But it's becoming like the old Liverpool, where United have spent $1 billion. If you're going to spend $1 billion, stick with one manager. and see if there's progress being made. And at this moment in time, because of the mess that Ralph Ragnar has inherited, I think there is progress, but this team is too hot and cold. They switched off after half time. You just can't do that like 3 minutes or whatever it was. I was just like, what's going on? They're not up for it. You know, when you're coming out of the tunnel and you see all United teams, they're up for it. These guys just walking out like, oh, it's just a job. We don't care. We're gonna just like kick a ball about. But the fans that were there watching it, and I was watching on TV, and I'm just like, I felt sorry for them. I was just like, they're watching. I'm glad I'm watching it at home. I wouldn't want to be there in the freezing cold in Manchester watching stuff like that. And you just got to ask yourself, like, what type of mood is that going to put you in for the rest of the weekend? That's the problem with these early morning these early afternoon kickoffs. I hate them. If your team loses and they don't perform to their very best, you just think to yourselves, you know what? It's a crap weekend, and then It's Europe is back next week. I thought it was the end of the month, and it's all systems go. And I know United have got a very tough line of fixtures coming up, and maybe that's what this team needs: a kick up the backside and tough fixtures to get going. I do think United will eventually get it right, but I don't know how far you'll be off the Champions League by then. I think by March time he'll get it right, but you might be 3 to 6 points away from Arsenal, who I think are overachieving, but it's not looking great. I think you're gonna suffer more. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better. And I think that's just where United are. I can't believe you have these conversations that United will be top four. I'm being honest with you right now. Like back in the day when I was high school, it's just like, oh shit, United will be top two, and then we'll suffer. Everybody else will just have to, go for the Champions League or the Europe spots. And now, when you look at how it's fallen, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. But you have to start somewhere, and I think the manager's all right. I really do. I think he's a decent manager. But if they don't sign him if they don't keep him on, I think it's just gonna be awful next season as well. Well, at the start of it anyway, if you don't make the right managerial appointment.
Yeah, he's recommending Ten Hag, and they have to, go down. If he's going to work upstairs, then they need to go along with the manager that he wants to work with. That makes the most sense. And he's the fans' choice. He's probably the most kind of up and coming manager in Europe right now. Albeit coming into United, he's putting his career on the line coming into this mess. There's probably easier jobs out there than that for Ten Hag, so it'd be a big gamble for him, as it is for every manager these days. But it's just the problem is with these United players, they're so used to drawing and losing games now. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Tomorrow they'll be on Instagram doing me dance moves in the dressing room with their baggy clothes on. They just don't like you say, Roy Keane and Paul Scholes and Gary Neville. Losing to them, they'd been moping for days after losing or drawing a match. They'd be angry with themselves. They wouldn't want to talk to anyone. Where these guys they're not winners. They're so used to mediocrity that it just doesn't draw in a game like today. It's just not going to annoy them that much, really. And that's the problem. We need to install a winning mentality again. Of course, that doesn't apply to the likes of Varane and Ronaldo, and Cavani, players that have been successful. But it's too many players in that United dressing room they're full of their own importance, but they've never actually won anything. And it's the board that's given them that impression because they've been indulged for such a long time. They're commercial commodities. They're not really footballers, and they're given contracts when they don't deserve it. And it's probably the root of the problem. Probably is the board. They're the ones who've created this mess. And if you're relying on Richard Arnold, who's basically the same guy as Ed Woodward, to get us out of this mess, then we're serious trouble. So yeah, it's very, very depressing at the moment. But coming back to matters on the pitch, in terms of the last three games, United from an attacking point of view, at least for about 60 minutes of those games, have been very, very good. They just haven't been able to score more than one goal. They're just a bit toothless in the opposition box. If they can become more ruthless in front of goal, then you will see United win more games. But I was hoping that was going to start today, but it hasn't. So maybe it will start against Brighton.
Brian play ball, you know. I don't know if you're at Old Trafford, but if you're at Brighton, they play football. They don't have the greatest players but they play ball. Honestly, when Chelsea went there, we were lucky. They play good football. They do. Graham Potter's gone playing. It's a bit like Southampton. It's a banana skin because they play a system which they're really good in. And if they've got their full strength team out, I think United are going to find it difficult. Um, I'll be honest. I thought United were going to win 3-1 today. I'm not going to lie. And I just thought because you're at home, the fans will get you. Sometimes you need the fans to get you over the line, but I think the fans have lost confidence in this team, and I just think I think you know that United had that edge about them. Now people are afraid of United. It's like when the other night when you played against Burnley, you couldn't score in the first half, and then I didn't even know who Weghorst was. But by the end of the game, by the end of the second half, you knew who that guy was because he was dominating the game. And I think United just need to get dirty victories in. It doesn't stop playing fancy football. Just get the wins. Get the wins and get to the end of the season because you know what? These guys can't. There's no point playing sexy football with these guys. They can't do it. Some of the decision making by some of those players, I'd have to see the stats, but is Bruno taking enough shots as he was last year or the year before? Is he getting on the end of them? Has Ronaldo hindered Bruno somewhat? Rashford in the final third, his decision making and his focus. If he didn't have good stats, is Rashford a Manchester United player? This is what United fans tell me, and I'm just like, he's a good player, but they go, that's the level now. We're just a good team. We're not the best. And, Sancho, I think he's a bright spark. But then he fell off in the second half. And I just thought, right, I actually thought Sancho was the one to come off. Right, Sancho's got to come off. He seems to have just dropped a level. And I thought, right, we're going to see that kid Hannibal. Not seen him yet. I've seen him play for Tunisia. He's a player, but not for Man United. He's not even got 10, 15 minutes in. And, yeah, it's the Brighton game going to be really tough for you guys because it's away from home. I thought you would have won today, but I think United should just try. The thing is, I don't know if you scored more than one goal this year. No, you scored 3 against Brentford, but apart from that, I think that was away from home, and this is at home at Manchester United at Old Trafford, and you couldn't score more than one goal against Southampton, a team that usually concede 2 goals or more. And you couldn't make them pay, and I think that's where the mentality is. It's on the floor at the moment with Brighton. It's going to be such a tough game, and they're going to be up for it. They're at home. They've got nothing to lose, and the way they're playing at the moment, they're going to be expecting at least a point. I think if you look at who have United drop point against Burnley, Southampton, and I've forgotten the other team, whoever that was. So you're dropping points against the bottom half, like the bottom 6 or 7. So Brighton will be up for it because they'll just be like, we're going to be at home, and I would play that young lad that came on initially. I think he's full energy. I think he's a good player, and I'd bring Rashford off the bench. It was working, I think, when Rashford was coming off the bench, and I was like, yeah, just keep this. When you're winning, you don't change it. You do not change when you're winning. And Rashford is really good when he comes off the bench, 70th minute, run out the player. Pogba had a fantastic game today. I don't think he's going to get the praise for it because you drew, but he was absolutely fantastic the way he was playing. And Scott McTominay, yeah, hardworking, it was flat. Ronaldo, I don't know who the player is to sub on because obviously you've lost a striker. So I don't know who you would replace Ronaldo with, but I think that's a bit of a concern. Maybe Cavani. But the thing about Cavani is he's been a sexy player elsewhere. It's not really happened at United like Zlatan. Zlatan happened at United for one season. With Cavani, he's extremely inconsistent. I know he makes a lot of good runs and he's very he's not a selfish player, whereas Ronaldo is, and it's the balance is a bit off, but just get the results. Who cares now? Just get the results or get top four. If not, it's not it's going to be a very tough end to the season for United, and I think the United fans deserve some positivity.
Well, Cavani wasn't available today yet again. I think it was like a hip injury or something. He's far too injury prone. He was at the back end of last season. He had a long spell of being fit, and he scored a lot of goals in that period in the league and the Europa League. But he hasn't. Apart from that, he gets injured every few games, and he's out for a while, or he declares himself unfit, or he wants extra time off when he comes back from South America and stuff. So I think it's the right decision for him to go in the summer, because as good a player as he is, he can't be relied upon to be available all the time. Yes, there's a lot of work to be done. I think the new manager, needs to be appointed as soon as possible, so he can then start. No, I don't mean come in to be the manager right now. I mean appoint him to take over in June, so that he can already start making decisions about who needs to go and who needs to stay. Because that's what Bayern Munich and Man City do. They plan ahead. They appoint managers months in advance before they take over. That's what a competent club with a competent board does. And hoping United will do something like that, and it will show signs of progression, at least in the boardroom. But yeah, it's at the moment it's hard to it's hard to be happy about what we're seeing, even though from an attacking point of view we are creating more chances than we were previously, but we're not putting them away, and it's really frustrating. The Brighton game is actually at home. It's at Old Trafford.
Oh, it's Old Trafford. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that makes any difference, to be honest. We probably have a better record away from home this season, so it might be
I
better.
think you have, yeah. I think you have, yeah. You have, you do. To be fair.
Yeah, Brighton they're very like Southampton. The very hardworking team. They press high up the pitch, and they've got a really good coach there, on the same system that they use in every game. I think is it a 3-5-2 that Brighton play?
Something like that, yeah. 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, however you want to describe it.
Yeah, and like you say, they've given all the top teams at least a good game, and have got some good results as well. I remember they were 2-0 down at Anfield, and they came back to draw the game 2 each, and perhaps unlucky not to get the winner. I think the winner might have been chalked off by VAR. So yeah, they've had some superb performances against the top teams. Not that I classify United as a top team this season. So I think United will probably struggle in that game as well. But like you say, it's all about getting results now. This season is basically a write-off. It's all about just scraping into the top four and then just move on till next season. If United don't get put out by Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, somebody else will put United out. Atletico are not having a great season themselves, so it's a clash between two teams that are in bad form. So it's anybody's guess who'll come through that. But I mean, in the next round, even if United get through, you'd fully expect United to be knocked out as soon as they play a decent team in the Champions League. So we don't have any hope of winning that competition. It's totally unrealistic. So what I'm going to do now is come on to the player ratings, and I'll shout out what I'm giving the players out of 10, and you tell me if you disagree with any of these. Okay, so De Gea, I think he did well when he was called upon, but not overly busy. I think most of Southampton's shots were off target, so I would just give him a 7, really. Dallo, I thought he played really well from an attacking point of view. He probably should have scored. I think his snapshot was straight at Fraser Forster. But yeah, he's a much better player than Wan-Bissaka. If he's fit, then Wan-Bissaka shouldn't get into the side. So Dallo, yeah, I'd probably go with a 6.5 probably. Varane, probably not as... Varane, I think, was beaten by in the first
half. He was responsible for the second goal. He was trailing. I don't know if you've seen it back, but he let himself down. If you saw the second goal, and Luke Shaw let himself down because he played the ball onside as well. So I blame Luke Shaw more, but Yeah, Varane was he. He didn't look like he was up to the pace
Yeah,
of the goal they scored.
I think Varane had a pretty average game today. In recent weeks he's been brilliant, but today it wasn't his best game. So I would probably go with a 5 for Varane. Maguire absolutely atrocious again. Um, he's just he just doesn't seem to have the physique to be a footballer. He's so slow, and then he dives into challenges. He misses the ball completely, and then he's completely out of the game because he hasn't got the pace to get back. He's so clumsy. He stood on the Southampton striker, the Albanian fella, right at the end. I know Peter Walton said on BT that it wasn't a penalty, but I mean, you wouldn't have been surprised if it was given. Maguire just absolutely awful again. So probably a 3 out of 10. Shaw, like you say, he's always playing people on side. He did that in the Burnley game as well. There's always a cynical challenge in him as well, blocking someone off with his arm or dragging someone back by the shirt. Or he's too narrow. He tucks in as like a third centre back and leaving like Stuart Armstrong and acres of space. He could have got a couple of goals today, Armstrong, if he hadn't blasted them over the crossbar. So Shaw, definitely a 4 for me. I know
Yeah,
he's
I've just got to
um
get my charger, mate. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
okay, no problem. Scott McTominay was booked very early on. He wasn't. I think he was very poor today again. He's very, very committed. Don't get me wrong. Always diving into challenges, but yeah, it was. He's just not good enough to be United's defensive midfielder. Yeah. So Scott McTominay would probably be a 6 for me. Pogba absolutely brilliant today. Um, always creating chances. Pogba's passing ability is out of this world. When Pogba is on his game, there's nobody who's on his level. When you see him, spraying diagonal passes with the outside of his right foot, right on a sixpence to Rashford, it's just absolutely brilliant to watch. When he plays like that, there's no one who can match him in Europe. He's just inconsistent. That's just been the issue with him. But today he was marvelous again. So probably an 8 out of 10 for Pogba. Fernandez, yeah, not quite on Pogba's level, but always trying to make things happen. He's a fantastic player, but didn't manage to get. He played a lovely ball over the top for Rashford, who assisted Sancho. So I have to give him credit for that. Yeah, so probably a 7 for me for Fernandez. But he's probably had much better games for United. He's not getting the goals have dried up, unfortunately.
You're very nice with your play ratings. You're very nice.
um, I know. Sancho probably a 7 as well. Another really good game from him, especially in the first half. Rashford probably an improvement in what we've seen from Rashford in the last couple of games. He assisted the goal, obviously. Um, he worked his ass off, and he was really good without being spectacular. Um, I would say I'll give him an average 6, really overall based on the 90 minutes. And Ronaldo, sorry, it just like I said earlier, he's beginning to look his age now. I never thought I would say that this season. When the game is played at a real fast pace like that between United and Southampton, he just looks off it. So probably a 4 for me, if I'm being honest. So the substitutes weren't really on long enough to give them a score like Galanga and Lingard, etc. The manager, I always give a manager rating as well, and I think I think you have to criticize him for picking Harry Maguire. And the obvious decision was to bring Lindelof in for this game after Maguire's dreadful performance against Burnley. He didn't do that, and Maguire was atrocious again. Apart from that, I didn't disagree with his selections and substitutions. If I had one criticism, I would say they didn't happen quick enough. Again, he waited to about the 75th minute to make a sub, and then the second one didn't come till about the 85th minute. So probably a 5 for Ralf Rangnick. Is there any of those that you disagree with? Do you think maybe I've give Fernandez too high a score there?
I would have given Maguire a 3.
Yeah.
Varane, I would have given Varane a 6. Luke Shaw 4. Dallo 6. Pogba 7.58. Yeah. McTominay 5, 5 at best. Sancho 8 for the first half. I give him 7.5 overall. Rashford, I thought he was. It depends on how you look at it. Now, if you put that, if you if you didn't get that assist, what would you give him? I'd have probably given him a 5 because he got the assist. I'd give him a 6. I think there's more. I think he could be better. I know he was playing out on the right today, and I know he prefers the left, if that makes sense. He looks better on. He looks more comfortable on the left. De Gea, yeah, 6. I don't think I have any issues with De Gea. Ronaldo 3. I just think he could. It wasn't his day today. That's not me. Bruno 6 at best, and I think I've got them all in there. I'm not going to rate the subs, but Ralph, I'll give him 5.5. I think he set the team up well. You can't blame Ralph for the finishing. You really can't. And obviously, he can only work with what he's got. But I just think he should be playing Elanga over Rashford. I think Rashford's a wicked player to come off the bench.
Yeah, see when Rashford comes on with 20 minutes to go with his electric pace, and the other team is quite tired, then it always works. He always has an impact when he comes on as a sub. But obviously Rashford's not going to be happy with that role if he's just an impact sub. But it's definitely an option. Yeah, I wouldn't mind starting Alanga against Brighton and bringing Rashford on after 70 minutes because if the game's in the balance at that point and Rashford comes on with his electric pace, it'll give nightmares to the Brighton defenders. So that's definitely something to consider for the next game. So between Arsenal, United, West Ham, and Spurs, it's anybody's guess who's going to finish fourth. It really is in the balance. Arsenal's game against Chelsea is it says on the Sky
It's been
Sports app.
postponed. Yeah, it's been postponed because we're in the final of the World Club Championships, so that's why it's postponed.
Oh right, that's right. I forgot about that. It's Chelsea playing Palmeiras or something in that, I think.
Yeah,
Usually that tournament takes place in December, so they must have moved it to February. Yeah, I was wondering why it said before I seen the postponement, it said 3 o'clock kickoff, Chelsea against Arsenal. And I was like, what? That's normally a cert to be a live game on Super Sunday
yeah,
or
yeah. I think it was. I think it was going to be the lunchtime kickoff, but obviously they're not playing, so that's why they put United Southampton on. I think.
yeah, Spurs against Wolves. That'll be another tough game for Spurs. The way Wolves are playing this season, on Leicester against West Ham. I mean, in current form, you'd expect West Ham to win that, but you just never know. I mean, Leicester have definitely got the team that are capable of getting a result. They're just not playing very well at the moment. And you've got to say, Brendan Rodgers, he was linked with United when Solskjaer was in trouble. There's no way he's getting a United job now. He'd be lucky to even hold on to a job at Leicester. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think he's a good manager. I think the Leicester players have let him down. I think injuries have possibly gone against him, but they just had a poor season, unfortunately. But he has won a trophy. He
Yeah,
did win the FA Cup, so and I think they let themselves down. It'll be interesting to see what happens at Leicester.
there does seem to be a theme with Brendan Rodgers that he tends to do well for 2 3 years, and then after that point, things start to decline. It happened at Liverpool. I think he got out of Celtic before it got to that stage, but at Leicester, it seems to be happening again. So it might have been a good time for him to move on. Probably back in November, if he should have taken the night job when he had the opportunity, because obviously you can blame the players, and that's a valid point, but he will obviously be guilty by association. And
Mm.
if he is sacked by Leicester, it's hard to imagine him getting one of the top jobs he's been linked with the Manchester City job with Pep Guardiola whenever he leaves, whenever that is. But you couldn't see him getting it then if Leicester sack him. He would have to leave
No,
Leicester on a high for that to happen.
he would. Yeah, he'd have to win a trophy. I think they're a top six club at best. I don't think they're a top four club, but they've had a poor season.
Very poor season. And just, I know we're not doing a general Premier League show here. We're just talking about United, really. But I think Newcastle now, look, I would say they're going to survive. They're winning games now. They've made some decent additions in January. Um, they're playing Villa. That might be a tough game. If they win that, then they're definitely going to survive. So, how do you see it? Do you think Newcastle will survive the season?
I don't know. Eddie Howe is one of those managers that you just don't know. I think I don't rate him highly. I think he plays attacking football, which is fair enough. He just attack. Um, they'll probably edge it because they've bought well. But can those lads adapt to the Premier League? They bought Gamirez, who's highly rated. But I watch Newcastle for St. Maximum. I think you keep St. Maximum fit. That guy is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know. It's very tight. It's very tight. But I think if he keeps them up, and Saudi Arabia FC go spending again in the summer, don't be surprised if they sack Eddie Howe. Or they might give Eddie Howe another season because they'll probably say to him, get in the top half of the Premier League. I think that's what will be the ambition next season at Newcastle United, get in that top half. And I don't know if Eddie Howe's the manager that could do that.
Yeah, I think if he keeps them up, they'll give him another year. But eventually, whenever they want to progress to the next level, they will get rid of him. Yeah, Sid Maximan, he's probably one of the best players to watch in the Premier League. Like, I remember back when I was younger, JJ Okocha at Bolton.
Oh
I love
yeah,
to watch Bolton games just to see him play.
100%.
Okay, I'm absolutely starving, so I'm going to wrap it up here. If everyone could give us a wee like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts down below. And fantastic to have you on, Hanif, and hopefully we'll have you on again sometime.
Yeah, anytime, mate. Thank you so much, everyone. Please do like and subscribe, and big up to glory.
Thanks very much. Okay, we'll see everyone on Tuesday after the Brighton game.